Greetings, 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 and happy new day to you, beloved. Thank you for joining me once again at the Rebirth the Body channel. And today we are discussing shadow work. So, first, we're going to start by discussing what exactly is the shadow, right? So, the shadow is the part of us that we don't like to accept. It's often the part of us that we don't have a lot of access to because we deny it. It's the part of us that we don't want a lot of attention on. It's the part of us that we indeed attempt to hide. So this shadow in psychology is known as the dark aspects of us. It is the part of us that we disowned, and it's the most threatening aspects of us to our higher self. So the shadow is a psychological term for everything we can't see in ourselves. So again, this is the dark aspects to ourselves, okay? So today we're going to discuss what is the shadow. We are going to explore how understanding more about this shadow, understanding more about this dark aspect of us helps to cultivate a higher sense of self and a more secured sense of self, right? Because the more we learn about ourselves and the more that we accept and acknowledge, it gives us a greater sense of power. And this power we already possess, but once we have more knowledge about our being, we're really able to activate that power and move within the knowing of that power. So here, after we explore what exactly is the shadow, tapping into it, we're going to talk about the benefits of the shadow and the benefits of really tapping into doing shadow work, okay? And then we're going to finish it off with some exercises and a summary. So again, let's discuss the shadow. The shadow is oneself that typically, in that shadow, what we experience is the opposition of our higher self. So within that shadow, we have sadness. This is where our depression, our anxiety, our laziness, our hateful thoughts, our insecurities, this is where they reside. This is literally the part of us that we try to disassociate with. It is the thing that typically in others will be able to notice it and will say that that's the part of them that we don't like, right? So it may be Brittany is such a great friend, but anytime I'm hanging out with someone else, she gets upset. So we're able to see Brittany's jealous tendencies. And it's interesting because we're able to point it out in Brittany, but oftentimes within ourselves, these qualities go um, unaddressed because they're ignored. And, we like to really protect ourselves. So typically, even if someone else points out those qualities in us, we will be very defensive. Um, we will reject, so a lot of the times this shadow, it is hard for us to really accept those qualities about us. We deny them, we condemn them, and we don't want to observe them, and we don't want other people pointing them out. So that's why I said this is when we can become very defensive about what we're hearing. We become very, very defensive. Like, no, 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 not me. I don't do that. I don't agree. We become very, very upset, and we don't want to hear those things about us. When we recognize and face our shadow, we become more whole and balanced. And so why is that? When we begin to recognize those feelings And those emotions within us that are in opposition of our higher self, we gain more power because now we have the ability to be able to tap into a different response. So if I'm noticing that, hey, I've been tapping into jealousy a lot, I'm taking accountability, I'm acknowledging that my shadow has really been showing up, and I am, there's these feelings of jealousy, then now I have the opportunity to change that. And so changing that allows for me to become more whole and become more balanced. And of course, some of these emotions are so embedded within us that they won't even change this lifetime. But what happens is we get to choose a different response when we're having those feelings of jealousy. So if I'm able to acknowledge that I'm having those feelings of jealousy, I can kind of now choose, how do I want to act that out? How well do I want to communicate? How effective do I want to be with my communication and with myself, and say, hey, I'm having a moment where I'm really feeling jealous right now. And it could be connected to this or attached to that, but I'm choosing to be more balanced in my approach. So acknowledging and understanding where the jealousy comes from helps for me to also set better boundaries with myself and with friends and with loved ones, with family members. It allows for me to acknowledge, how can I change my reactions? How can I work on, when I'm having those emotions and feelings, what can I tell myself to bring me back, right? Reminding myself that I am complete, whole, absolute, not lacking anything. Directing myself back to what the true nature of myself is. I am pure, I am love, therefore I am going to move out of that frequency. And I know that jealousy and anger and bitterness is in opposition of love and purity, right? So it's allowing me to face that emotion. I'm facing that emotion, and now I'm allowing for myself to open up to the frequency of love and purity. So what we see is that the dark side of ourselves, it cannot be eliminated. Your shadow cannot be eliminated. It is a part of your makeup as an individual, but you just have to remind yourself who you are as a pure conscious being. You are created, and you are literally created out of love and purity. And so that is the real essence of you. So we acknowledge that although we have these feelings and emotions that are in opposition, my true self, my true identity is love and purity. So we have to remind ourselves that the dark side of me is not my complete and total being. It is not the true me. And so with this, we're really being able to have the techniques for engaging with the shadow. Sometimes this is going to require some form of counseling, because these dark sides of ourselves are developed in our adolescence, and they can be tarnished and for many different reasons. Sometimes we experience certain forms of abuse and neglect as adolescents that can put emphasis on the dark side of us, and that can make it appear like that is our complete being. Sometimes we run across people like this, and we're like, oh, this individual is terrible, and oftentimes what has taken place is that their shadow has overtaken their whole aura. It has completely taken over the higher sense of them, which is purity and love. That is their true self. So what we can see is sometimes the shadow of an individual takes over them completely. And this is why we are tapping into doing these doing shadow work and making sure that we are doing the work to address this aspect of ourselves. We are doing the work to address our flaws, to address our weaknesses and our selfishness, the hate within us, right? And what we can see is when we do these, when we actively address our shadow, we are able to improve our relationships, not only with the people closest to us, but in the general public. We shine a brighter light. We become a beacon to our communities when we're able to really tap into doing our shadow work. We're able to grow closer to family members. We're able to experience a higher sense of love, and we're able to really tap in to our intimate partners on a higher frequency. Doing shadow work gives us a clearer perception of ourselves and where we want to be, the reality around us. So tapping in, doing your shadow work helps to cultivate a higher sense of self. And this is the ability to reflect and observe our behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. So when we're doing the shadow work, when we're addressing these dark figures and elements of ourselves, addressing the anger and the sadness within ourselves, this helps to bring out a higher sense of self because we're actively acknowledging our behaviors, our thoughts, and our feelings, and we're able to change where there needs to be a change because all that we experience outward is literally a reflection of what's going on inside of us. So we have to mindfully say, okay, what are some things about me that I can change? Where is the neglect inward that I'm experiencing that is showing up in my outer reality? So when we're paying attention, we're watching our reactions. This is all part of the shadow work. So simply journaling about your day, the emotions and the thoughts that you have, help for you to track your thoughts and be able to see where is negativity lying and residing in your thoughts. Because if you're having negative thoughts, you're going to have negative behaviors to follow. And this is how we're able to create a negative reality. So we're engaging in inner dialogue. Are you being honest with you? Are you being courageous on the process, right? Are you acknowledging when you're having these insecurities, when you're having these selfish tendencies? Are you acknowledging your dark thoughts and emotions? What behaviors and attitudes do not serve you, right? You need to spell this out. Really tap in into having this inner conversation with yourself. You need to become your best friend. How are you aiding yourself on the process? Really tap into being a peace of mind for yourself, but you must recognize when you are having these dark thoughts. And this is when you're having a negative sense of self, right? So where are those challenges relying, right? And so we can see challenges create a projection, an outer projection. Your inner challenges are going to project outward. So if you're having some inner conflict when it's centered around love or money or just happiness, those negative projections that you're having inward will be projected outward. Your thoughts, your attitudes, your belief system are creating your reality. Your reality. This is why we're doing the shadow work, right? Because the shadow is going to help us understand where are you having the conflict, right? Where are these dark regions of yourself? What are they feeding you that is not going to help you create the reality that you desire? What do you envision yourself being and becoming? What is your dreams? Right? What were your dreams when you was an adolescent? Are you living those dreams out now? Are you longing for those dreams? Where do you feel like you're falling short? Right? This is where we look at what have you failed to accomplish that may be hunting you inwardly that is showing up on the outside, okay? So we're making sure to journal. You must actively participate in activities and exercises that will help you tap in to this higher self. And when tapping into this higher self, you're going to have to address the dark sides of you. This is where the journey becomes challenging, right? It is difficult for us to really look at where did we go wrong? What is the lesson that we were supposed to learn from those really tough moments, right? And so we're looking at, why did I fail to live up to that vision that I had? And because what we're going to find is inner conflict. We're going to say that, oh, it's society, it's the economy. We're going to be able to just easily blame it on those things. But when we take a second and dive a little deeper and look at where the inner conflict lies, we're able to see how those negative inward projections were able to predict and shape your reality. This is why it's important to do the shadow work, okay? So be honest with yourself, be courageous, tap into that inner dialogue, and remind yourself you are your best friend. You are the most important aspect to your being. You must know that everything that you need for this journey, you already have inside yourself. Remember, there is no lack for you. You didn't come here to lack on this journey. You came here to experience bliss and abundance and happiness and love and joy and light and prosperity. You deserve these things. These things are deserving of you. Enjoy your beautiful days, loved ones.